The cruise lines love to talk about their newest ships, with all their fancy bells and whistles and the new modern amenities that are being introduced as new generations of cruise ships come online. But there are so many older ships out there that are really superb and have very special features and interesting histories, and are absolutely worth cruising on today. So let's have a look at the oldest cruise ships in each of the major cruise brands' fleets and find out a bit about their history and what makes them special and why you might want to consider booking on board these ships whilst you still can. Today we're going to start with my absolute favourite ship in service, and that is the Queen Mary II. Queen Mary II is the only true ocean liner in service today and the first transatlantic ocean liner built in a generation. She was ordered in 2000 at Le Chantier de l'Atlantique shipyard in Saint-Nazaire, France, and was put into service in 2004. The ship was ordered and created for the Cunard line, which has a long heritage of doing transatlantic crossings dating all the way back to 1840. And with their previous flagship, QE2, coming to the end of her service life, they needed a replacement for 21st century transatlantic crossings. The Queen Mary II is the longest, tallest, widest, and most expensive ocean liner ever built. And when she entered service in 2004, she was actually the largest passenger ship in service as well. Now, while she's been eclipsed in terms of size by many of the modern-day cruise ships, she still is the largest ocean liner to ever enter service and is the only ship that's designed specifically to do the North Atlantic crossing year in, year out, currently in service today. And during her cruising career, she's actually been all around the world. The ship's undertaken numerous world cruises, visiting places in South America, Australia, New Zealand, Asia, and Africa. The ship itself is an absolute dream to sail on board. She's got great stability and some fantastic amenities, including a seagoing planetarium and an absolutely superb spa designed by Canyon Ranch. Queen Mary II is a ship that I've covered many times on my channel, so you can check out all the videos below. I've linked them in the description and in the info card above. I've got a whole playlist about Queen Mary II. So let's move across to P&O Cruises UK, and the oldest ship in their fleet is the Aurora, which entered service in 2000. Now, Aurora actually is my favourite P&O Cruises ship as well, and she's a remarkable ship in her own right. She was built at the Meerwerft shipyard in Papenburg, Germany, and was designed to undertake long-duration cruising out of the United Kingdom. She's actually a modified and enhanced version of her fleet-mate Oriana, which entered service in 1995. And both of these ships were designed specifically for the UK market, so have a higher than average cruising speed, allowing them to transit the Bay of Biscay as quickly as possible and get UK passengers from Britain into the sunny and warm climates of the Mediterranean Sea. Aurora had a bit of a rocky start to her career. She had engine troubles that interrupted her maiden voyage, but after those were rectified, the ship settled into a schedule of cruises and has become a very popular ship within P&O Cruises UK. Aurora has many repeat guests and her design is really beautiful. She's got amazing interior spaces, a very classic interior design, and some wonderful aft terraced decks that give you the sort of feeling that you're on an old ocean liner of days gone by. Her interior is classic P&O, and in fact, she's the last ship that was built for the Peninsular and Oriental Steam Navigation Company before it was split up and the cruise brand was sold to Carnival. So Aurora has a very special place in many people's hearts. Now moving across to Royal Caribbean, and the oldest ship in their fleet is the Grandeur of the Seas, which is a member of the Vision class of cruise ships. Now oddly enough, the Vision class of cruise ships is actually named after the newest ship in the Vision class, the Vision of the Seas. And the Grandeur is actually the third ship that was designed in this class and the first to be built at the Kevennämössä yards in Finland. She is a very interesting ship. I've actually sailed on board her sister ship, the Enchantment of the Seas, which is my favourite RCI ship. But Grandeur of the Seas was put into service in 1996, and the ship entered into a routine of Caribbean cruises, which has also been seen many times in the European market. In my opinion, Grandeur of the Seas and the Vision class is a very attractive cruise ship. It has the long bow and a very nicely raked forward profile, as well as a curved stern area. And then in the middle of the ship, just forward of the funnel, you actually find the Viking Crown Lounge, which is quite a prominent structure on the top of the ship, giving a great view over the top decks of the vessel. The ship has a classic and elegant appearance, and the lifeboats are set inboard, lower down in the ship to allow for more balcony cabins to be built on the top of the ship. In 2019, it was announced that the Grandeur of the Seas would leave the Royal Caribbean fleet and move across to Pullmantur Cruises, of which Royal Caribbean had a stake. However, during the COVID shutdown, the ship was actually laid up like all the other cruise ships, and when Pullmantur collapsed, she remained in the Royal Caribbean fleet, and she sails with Royal Caribbean to this day. Now, this ship itself is one of 4 Vision-class cruise ships left in the Royal Caribbean fleet. 2 others left the fleet earlier, the earliest 2 that were built at a different shipyard. So if you want to travel on a Vision Class cruise ship, I highly recommend it. As I mentioned, Enchantment of the Seas, which was built just a few years after Grandeur of the Seas, was an absolutely superb experience. The Norwegian Spirit is the oldest ship in the Norwegian cruise line fleet, and once again, she's my favorite ship of that brand. The Norwegian Spirit was built by Meyer Werft Shipyard in Papenburg, Germany, and entered service in 1998 as the Superstar Leo. She was actually built for Star Cruises and had a near-identical sister ship, the Superstar Virgo. These two ships sailed for Star Cruises together and were very popular ships in that role. However, when Star Cruises owned Norwegian Cruise Line, they decided in 2004 to transfer the Superstar Leo to NCL, and she became the Norwegian Spirit. Now, she was given a modest refurbishment when she was moved across to Norwegian Cruise Line, but just before the global cruise shut down, the ship was given a mammoth $100 million refurbishment to extend her life for the foreseeable future. This refurbishment was truly remarkable, and I was fortunate enough to sail on board the ship after this refurbishment when global cruising resumed in 2022. Norwegian Spirit's interior was basically completely ripped out, with the exception of a few signature areas on board the ship, and a brand new interior was put in its place. This means that the ship, from cabins to show lounges to corridors to restaurants, looks almost new on the inside, yet she has that beautiful old-fashioned cruise ship design that dates back to the 1990s, with a large wraparound promenade deck, beautiful open-air areas on the top of the ship, and a terraced aft deck area on the stern. Norwegian Spirit is actually one of my all-time favorite ships after my voyage on board, and again, it just goes to show that older ships can be remarkable in their own way. Skipping across to Princess Cruises, and the oldest ship in the Princess Cruises fleet is the Grand Princess. She was the first of the Grand class of cruise ships, and at the time she entered service in 1998, she was the largest passenger ship in the world, taking the title from Carnival's Carnival Destiny. Grand Princess is over 100,000 gross tons and started a trend of Princess building larger and larger ships. When she first entered service, the Grand Princess's design was quite unusual, with a very squared-off stern and a large raised nightclub at the back. This gave the ship an unusual appearance and led to the nickname of the shopping trolley. If we head across to Carnival Cruise Line now, and the oldest ship in their fleet is actually the Carnival Sunshine. Now, Carnival Sunshine started her service career in 1996 as Carnival Destiny, and she was a truly remarkable ship. She was the first passenger ship to exceed 100,000 gross tons, making her the first passenger ship to eclipse the RMS Queen Elizabeth in terms of size. She was the largest ship in the world when she entered service, and it attracted a lot of media attention. Now, she has this very iconic exterior profile with a very stubby bow and the raked forward profile there, as well as the enormous whale tail funnel, which is a Carnival brand mark that is recognizable around the world. Her interiors were designed by Joe Farkas, and the ship itself is like stepping into another world. It has that very unique Carnival interior feel where all of the colors and shapes and designs kind of almost clash with each other, but somehow manage to come together to create a magical world. And it's very much reminiscent of the Carnival feel that they were going for from the 1980s all the way through to the mid-2000s. Now, Carnival Destiny was given a refurbishment and renamed Carnival Sunshine, and she still sails with Carnival Cruises to this day. Holland America's oldest ship is the 60,906 gross ton Volendam, which entered service in 1999. And Volendam was used by Holland America to undertake cruises in ports around the world, including an extended season in Australia in 2009, as well as being chartered for use during the 2011 Rugby World Cup hosted in New Zealand. The ship undertook a major refurbishment in 2014, but like all other cruise ships in 2020 was laid up during the global cruise shutdown. However, after the ship was reactivated in 2022, she was used as an accommodation ship to shelter refugees displaced in the Ukrainian war. The ship made headlines in 2002 when it became the largest ship to ever sail under the Rainbow Bridge in Tokyo. Volendam has also been used by Holland America to test biofuels. And another major cruise brand is Celebrity Cruises, and the oldest ship in their fleet is the Celebrity Millennium. Now, Celebrity Millennium is an interesting ship because she's got the designation of GTS, or gas turbine ship, because she's powered by gas turbine engines, which was considered in the late 1990s and early 2000s as a direction that shipbuilding was going to go in the future. Of course, gas turbine fuel prices have become so expensive in the years since that they don't build ships with gas turbines that much anymore, but this one is unique because it runs on a fully gas turbine coal-fired power plant. Now, when she first entered service, she had a unique livery with the blue hull and yellow accents, which made the ship stand out quite significantly. And she also had some nice interior spaces that were designed, including the Olympic restaurant, which was designed to resemble the interior of the RMS Olympic, sister ship to the Titanic. Christened in the year 2000 and entering service that same year, the 90,963 gross ton ship is by no means one of the largest that I'm going to mention in this list today, but she is much beloved with passengers and has had a refurbishment that brings her interior decor up to the standards that you would expect from celebrity in the mid-2020s. Now moving to MSC Cruises, and the oldest ship in their fleet is the MSC Armonia. MSC Armonia was introduced in 2001 and she was built at Le Chantier de l'Atlantique in France. The ship was originally designed for festival cruises and was intended to be named European Vision. It's a member of the Lyrica class of cruise ships, which is a derivative of the Mistral class based on the cruise ship Mistral, which was also designed at Le Chantier de l'Atlantique. And in fact, I did an entire video story about the Mistral, which you can also check out after this one. The oldest ship in the Costa Cruises fleet is the Costa Fortuna, which is a Destiny class cruise ship. And this ship came into existence having been built at Fincantieri when Carnival Corporation started to cross-pollinate their various brands with Carnival-designed ships. The ship has a large ratio of balcony cabins, ample top deck space, and an interior that blends the fun Carnival style that Destiny-class cruise ships are known for with the traits that Costa Cruises are also known for, giving her a modern Italian flair. And the penultimate oldest ship in this week's video is the AIDAdiva from AIDA Cruises. She is the first ship in the Sphinx class of cruise ships, which has to be one of the coolest names for a class of cruise ships out there. AIDAdiva entered service in 2007 and has been operating for AIDA Cruises ever since. The ship has a gross tonnage of 69,203, and while she's not considered a large ship by today's standards, she certainly does have a very prominent profile. Some of the design traits include the very large glass structure that juts out on the port and starboard sides of the ship, as well as AIDA's classic hull livery with the gigantic red lips and the large eye on the side of the vessel, both port and starboard sides. And finally for today, Disney Cruises, whose oldest ship is the Disney Magic, and she entered service in 1998. She was the first ship built for Disney Cruises. The design of the Disney Magic and her sister ship, the Disney Wonder, established a design trait that Disney has carried through from all of their subsequent ships, and that is to make these cruise ships look like ocean liners. They have a dark colored hull, a curved forward superstructure, and twin funnels on the top deck that kind of make them look like ships that might have been designed during the 1950s. These ships are quite unique and were very special when they entered service because they looked so different from anything that had been built for many, many years. And in fact, some people get them confused with ocean liners because exterior-wise, they kind of look like ocean liners, but behind the scenes, they are in fact just very beautifully dressed up cruise ships. Interior-wise, they have a Disney-themed interior and have introduced a number of facilities and amenities that Disney Cruises is renowned for today. So that's it for today's list of the oldest cruise ships in the modern cruise fleets, but if you want to hear more, let me know in the comments below. What's your favorite of the ships that I've mentioned today? As always, a huge thank you to our channel members. Your support is what helps make these videos possible. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my new Substack. It's full of articles about passenger shipping. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I hope to see you on board. This video is brought to you by me and my new book, The Evolution of the Passenger Ship. In The Evolution of the Passenger Ship, we've brought years of research together to create a book that takes you on a journey from the earliest sailing ships right the way through to the modern behemoths that we see today. The Evolution of the Passenger Ship is available at all good bookshops. And if you buy a copy, you help us by supporting the channel.